The orc scrambled back in panic, leaving their dead piled at the feet of his bodyguard, the number of chaos dwarves decreasing with every charge. With the din of immediate battle receding, the warriors gazed across a spot where his congregant of useless but loyal hobgoblins were slaughtered by the orc warboss and his retinue. "Useless slave scum!" He spat venomously, not himself knowing whom he referred, his own slave soldiers or the rebels that had slaughtered them. Glancing behind him, he took into the hopeless nature of the situation. He had lost too many warriors and almost all of his blunderbusses. Things had been going well. His warrior bodyguards and hobgoblins had surged into the mine pit, driving a tribe of other goblins before them, forcing them back over the edge of a gorge into a lava flow. They had savoured the pathetic creature's shrieks of terror and despise as they plunged their superheated depths below. Then the cruel and fickle favour of Ashut had left him. The main orc force and their rebel leader had emerged from concealed tunnels in the side of the pit, screaming their mad war cries as they hurtled forward into the flanks of the blunderbusses he had positioned to provide supporting fire. The blunderbuss-armed dwarves had little time to react as they were ripped through, then scattered. Now, with a lack of supporting firepower and horrifically outnumbered, it would be the greenskins' turn to savour the moment, as now his back was to the gorge. His only chance was to demoralise the enemy. The greenskin is a terrible foe, but also cowardly when its leaders are slaughtered, he thought. Knowing his only chance, he strode forward, bellowing a challenge at the biggest orc whilst brandishing his demon-forged axe. And Rice lit the orc's eye as he gazed at the weapon, wanting it for his own. With an answering bellow, the beast bounded forward. The two champions met with a clash. The orc had brute strength on his side, but none for the skill of a son of the Father of Darkness. Blows rained as both warriors sought to gain the advantage. Before long, the orc stumbled, falling headless to the ground. The warrior swept up the hair in its greasy topknot and hurled it into the orc's former retinue. Creatures howled with rage and leapt forward, racing each other to claim the kill, the axe, and the leadership of their new tribe. He cut down the first and the second. The third was quicker. Several blows were traded before the orc span away with blood pouring from his throat. The remaining bodyguard were being slaughtered when he realised the stain of failure was upon him, and fear at the audacity that these lesser creatures built within him, he roared a challenge to the sky, calling his foes to come die by his hand. Suddenly, he caught something out the corner of his eye, a movement. To his right, a runty goblin, twirling an improvised sling, was creeping round in an attempt to outflank him. Desperately, he whipped around, bringing his shield up to deflect the missile. He was too slow. Heat, flesh-scorching, breath-stealing heat, his every nerve ended aflame, his bloodstream seemingly pumping nothing but pure agony around his tortured frame. The resolute nature of his species enabled him to climb to his feet, his joints screaming in protest. Peering goggly around, he realised he was on a ledge, about 15 foot up from where the surface of the lava flowed. He must have landed here after the fall. Wait, he fell? From where? His mind was foggy. His thoughts and memories were a seething mass of confusion. Who was he? Where was he? Why was he here in the first place? All he could make out was a bitter string of failure and unbearable shame. Looking down at himself, he noticed he was wearing armour, scorched and battered beyond usefulness. His flesh on his hands is scorched and seared. He touched his face. That too had felt the caress of the lava. He checked his other wounds. His temple was bruised and sore. He was generally battered and bruised. Wait, he had a cut on his thigh, caused by a blade, not a rock, and the damage to his pauldron too. He had seen battle, reaching down almost instinctively. His hand grasped the familiar haft of an axe lying next to him. Almost at once he was filled with a new strength as his aches and complaints of his battered body seemed to easily fade. A desire to inflict pain and slaughter coursed through him. This felt right. The axe was his. Driven forward by the thirst of battle and the desire to avenge whatever failure had shamed him, he entered a nearby cave. He stopped just inside, sniffing the air, for almost hidden by the reek of sulphur and the burning of his own charred flesh was an unmistakable stench of greenskin. The shame and anger flared in his soul at the thought of these worthless slave creatures. Gripping the shaft of his axe, a vindictive grimace on his ravaged features, he set off into the darkness. Several months later a lone warrior looking little more than a beggar arrived at the gates of a black fortress, asking acceptance into the garrison there. He said, a failure, unremembered in a forgotten life, but a failure is a failure, remembered or not. The guards noticed his appearance. He had staggered out of the ash waste bearing a wicked axe at his hip. His armour was torn to shreds. Although his flesh looked half scorched from his bones, he stood strong with the stance of arrogance of a born warrior. He smiled grimly as he was encased in the hot, forged armour of the infernal guard. Over the next few years the warrior began to become known as the kinless, as he had no kin that could be remembered, and shunned all contact with others. In battle he slew the foes of the Black Tower with extreme brutality, and followed his orders of the sorcerer masters without question. He now bears the ancient battle banner of the Black Tower as its guardian, and although his victories have granted him the right to reveal himself countless times over, he still to this day refuses to remove his iron faceplate, preferring its skull-faced visage to his own twisted flesh beneath.